Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another segment of Experts Corner. Today, we have Mark Gottselig joining us again from Global Ag Risk Solutions. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing real well today. How about yourself?
I am doing fine and dandy. It is sunny. It is warm. It is amazing. And you are here to talk to us. So I am super excited. So this is our third segment together, talking about risk management for the farm. The first one, we spoke about understanding risk and uncertainties. The second one, we spoke about understanding production cost insurance. Today, we're going to be talking about AgWrap. I'm intrigued. Before we go there, can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and who Global Ag Risk Solutions is?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks. What can I say about myself? Born and raised on the family farm just 35 miles north of Moose Jaw. Our hometown is Findlater, Saskatchewan. Our actual box number is box 1, Findlater.
Oh, wow.
There's about 80 people in Findlater, but yeah, we're from the farm just southwest of Findlater. Come from a big farm family of 10 kids. I'm the oldest boy. We were mixed farmers, had about a little over about 2,000 acres and about 100 head of cattle on a given year. Farmed with my dad farmed with his brother, my Uncle Dave, and so just born and raised on the farm, and graduated in '88. And at the time, it was not really great farming at that time. 87, 88, 89 were the worst years in our farm with the drought, low prices, and so Dad, being the oldest boy, and there being lots of kids to follow, he couldn't support Dad and Mom couldn't support me to farm, so went off to university, and then in 2012 landed at Global Ag Risk Solutions, and it was the second year they've been running, and I've been here ever since. I'm the national sales leader for Global Ag Risk Solutions, which is the very first private crop insurer in Canada, and we cover full farm on the crop side revenue protection. So we're really happy to be growing our company every single year, and this past year we're insured a little over 3 million acres in the 3 prairie provinces, and are growing strong. So it's something that farms are using for a lot of different reasons, and I couldn't be happier working for them and to help farming move forward. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, good. Thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. Yes. Okay, so today we're going to be diving into AgWrap. Why don't we just go there? Can you share more about that product?
You bet. Yeah, so AgWrap is our newest option for production cost insurance that we have, and it was developed during or right after the changes that have happened, the most recent changes that have happened with AgriStability a couple of years ago. So before the changes happened, all private insurance, so private non-subsidized insurance, if you claimed with any of those insurers like ours, like hail insurance, like the provincial crop insurers that are not subsidized, that claim money counted as revenue for AgriStability. And so it actually lowered or lessened that AgriStability claim because it was an eligible income that they had to use for AgriStability. So a couple of years ago that changed, and now AgriStability, the federal program, is not a eligible income that is used for that program. So that means that any claim that happens with private insurers does not count as revenue for AgriStability, which means AgriStability claims are not affected by private insurance claims. And so we saw that there an opportunity and developed this AgWrap from that. And the beautiful thing about that is that's a big win for farmers that are using private insurance and AgriStability together. But there's 2 more wins for that as well. The first one is that the premiums that are charged by private insurers are an eligible expense still for AgriStability, which means it's still insured by AgriStability. And then probably the biggest win of all is that even though the claim is not counted for that program year for private insurers, any claim money that they have is actually put back in to AgriStability to keep the reference margins for the strong for the farm for years forward.
Okay.
So it's just a great thing for those that are using private insurance, and again, just not global ag risk insurance, but all the private hail companies, and then Manitoba and Alberta, their hail insurance that's run by the provincial government, it's also not subsidized, and so it also counts within all this. So AgWrap was developed because of that, and it is AgWrap is short for AgriStability Wrap, and basically this program wraps around AgriStability coverage that farms have.
Okay, excellent. So we'll go into the details a little bit deeper, but I think I want to get you to clarify something for me. AgriStability confuses a lot of people. Can you do me and the audience a favor and go into that a little bit and explain it? Because there's a lot of people go, yeah, I know how it works. No, I don't. Yeah. Do you mind going there?
Yeah. And sometimes it just rolls off our tongues because we talk about it all the time. So I can understand it. Even when we were talking about, the first question there, I was saying some things, and I'm going to, maybe a lot of people don't understand really what that's all about. So what we try to do is simplify AgriStability as best we can and explaining it, because although it's a simple concept, there's lots of little details in it that make it a little bit confusing. And because of that, a lot of farmers will trust their accountants to help them understand it and to see if it's working for their farm. And again, that's just a great advisor to have to help with that federal program. So if I have a picture here, if I could share the picture with you guys and talk to this. So this picture is from the Saskatchewan Crop Insurance Corporation, SCIC AgriStability margin page. And I'm borrowing it because it's really a simple and good way to understand how this all works. And so it's all about knowing the farm's reference margin and how AgriStability calculates a reference margin for the years that farms are in the program. Is they take the eligible income that they have, and we could get into a whole hour conversation about AgriStability. So, but it's the eligible income that they have, subtract the eligible expenses that AgriStability has will equal the reference margin for the farm. And so every single year, the farmer will have a reference margin, depending on their successes that they have and the expenses that they have. And then AgriStability will take the Olympic average. So they'll drop the high reference margin, drop the low reference margin of the past 5 years. So that means in 2022, they'll take 2021 and then back 5 years. They'll drop the high and the low, and they'll average out those 3 middle years to give the farm their upcoming 2022 reference margin.
Okay.
So that's what they'll have. And so in that program year, in that 2022, if that reference margin drops 30% below what the reference margin is, a claim will trigger.
Okay.
So they'll start getting paid. And then from every dollar that they drop below that amount, they get 70 cents on the dollar.
Okay, right.
So if they drop $100 an acre below that reference margin, they get paid $70 an acre. And so it is, so they figure out the Olympic average for the ref, and to give that program year reference margin, then whatever they have on that year, if it drops 30% below that, they start triggering a claim, and then they get 70 cents on the dollar for every dollar below that trigger point.
Awesome.
So that's, And that's the simple, I guess, version of it. There's lots of little things that go into eligible expenses and eligible income and how they calculate that. But that's essentially how AgriStability will work.
Thank you for sharing that. You're really good at explaining this. And I love the visual. You'd almost think you do this for a living.
Well, it's still a program that is misunderstood. And I don't blame, like before this change, there was actually 3 different names of reference margins. Ooh. And then it not necessarily was the current reference margin that farms use, but there was a thing called the reference margin limit that was also brought into. So it was very, very confusing before this. They've simplified it a lot. They got rid of all these different names of reference margin, and now there's just one, and this is how it's calculated. And then with the other changes with private insurance, it's working a lot better for farms.
Excellent. I've chatted with a lot of farmers, and some know it, some don't know it, some trust their accountant to just do it. But even myself, I touch on it here and there. We have our accountant that takes care of it, and I trust them to do it. And each time I have to dive back in and refresh. So that was a perfect explanation. And I think that helps with the conversation here rolling into AgWrap. Do you want to now chat about how AgWrap complements AgriStability?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just not the AgWrap option that complements AgriStability now. It's all of our options because, of course, it's not counted as revenue. The claim is not counted as revenue, but AgWrap was developed because there's some farms that who really understand AgriStability, have a good understanding and knowledge of the Olympic reference margin that is coming up for their farm. And because they do that, they don't necessarily need to buy our full coverage program, which is our best program. It's also our most expensive program.
Right. Okay.
And so if they do know that, they can choose an AgWrap product, because what AgWrap does, it ensures all the revenue that AgriStability doesn't insure. And so it will wrap around kind of what that AgriStability is insuring, and then insure how I said the farmer, once they start getting paid, they get 70 cents on the dollar. So we are going to add that other 30 cents to make that farm whole. And then depending on what option of AgWrap that you take, you could actually get even more revenue insured from it. So it's a little complicated because of AgriStability being complicated, and to really get the understanding about how AgWrap can work for the farm, that's where we come in as Global Agri Solutions, that our advisors will sit down with the farmer and they'll have a look, and they're actually trained to calculate forward-looking reference margins from past numbers. And then they can see actually how an AgWrap product may work for their farm. But it is it's an option that's there. It was just new this past couple of years, and it's getting a little bit more popular every year. But because of the complexity of AgriStability, it's still not used a lot.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that is fantastic. I want to. Why don't you share your final thoughts, and then I'm going to ask you another question.
Sure.
On getting, share your final thoughts on the 2 programs, and then we'll go with my question I have for you, a burning question.
Sure. And I apologize for not getting really deep into how AgWrap, like the actual numbers and works, because it's different for every single farm. So it's hard really to explain, other than just knowing that it complements it by it covers the revenue risk that AgriStability doesn't. And that's something that, including what's called a negative margin, that for some farms AgriStability does not cover as well. And we also cover a negative margin. And again, that's all stuff that just rolls off our tongues, but it has to be explained a lot better by and in more depth by our advisors. So it's just some final thoughts of it. First of all, I'm going to go right back to what we talked about in maybe one of our conversations before, and that's knowing your cost of production. Nothing really matters if you don't know your cost of production and how the programs, AgriStability or our program, can help your farm. So that's key in really understanding that. Need to be confident in knowing that AgriStability can work for your farm. There's a lot of farms that before this new change, before they dropped the reference margin limit, that just didn't feel like it was working for their farm anymore. Now we are advising farms for those that dropped out of it, to have a really strong look at it again because of that change that happened. And so talk to the provincial governing bodies that administer it. Talk to your accountant. Find some advisors that can explain it to you, just to see if it actually can work for your farm. Because although it's still a disaster type of insurance, it's not so much a deep disaster insurance now as a medium disaster. And so this last year, a lot of farms did trigger AgriStability payments.
Okay.
And then for the AgWrap program, it's all about sitting down with our advisors and exploring it, seeing if there's some interest in it. And then if there is, then we would get some numbers together to give a quote. And then work with that farm so they know exactly what they're buying if they do want to purchase it.
Okay. I think that leads perfectly into my last point. And I always like to go here because I believe that farmers are brilliant people. They know a lot. They wear a lot of hats, but you can't know everything. And sometimes being that person in a business that has to know a lot about everything, we think we need to know everything about everything. So my question, and I know myself, I throw myself under the bus all the time as a farmer, as a CEO, as a business person. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't understand. And it takes a while to get yourself out of yourself and go, okay, I don't know. So let's say I'm sitting in the audience, Farmer Tracy, I'm in the prairie provinces, and I go, okay, this global ag risk stuff sounds very intriguing. I'm interested. I don't necessarily get it. I'm feeling intimidated. And I think it's human nature where we go, okay, well, I'll do that later. I don't want to call these people and go, okay, I don't really know what I'm talking about. Can you help me? Can you speak to that? Because I think that's one of the key things in bringing on programs and professionals onto your team is just being able to say, I don't know, help me.
Yeah. And it's perfectly fine. It actually shows that you really care about your business a lot more by reaching out for help.
Yeah.
The things that you don't know. And I have a lot of stories with the town hall presentations that I've done over the past number of years for global ag risk and farmers, accountants, ag lenders, whoever's coming to the town hall are always sitting and listening, but not really asking questions. And I always encourage, even if the question, even if you think it's a silly question, ask it, because likely half of everybody else in the audience is thinking the same thing, but they are not asking it. And I always encourage to pepper us with questions and not to be shy or don't feel like you don't know. I'm still learning a lot about farming. Whenever an agronomist or a grain marketer talks, I'm like, holy, there's a lot there. And so I try to ask as many questions as I can so I can get a better understanding. And that's continually as there's more and more things out there. I don't know how many salespeople, so to speak, will drive down a driveway every single year of a farm. So many things are thrown at us, and it's such a big business with so many key decisions that have to be made all the way through, that are time sensitive, that are expensive, that are risky, because it's all risky.
Yep.
So to really have an understanding and not to be shy to ask those questions, to reach out, is incredibly important. And this year, beyond a lot of years with the cost of production, how high they are, and the opportunity that it's out there to find those people that can be in your corner so you can just knock it out of the park, is really what a lot of people should be looking at.
You're so right. I didn't even think of that with the dryness and the cost of all the inputs now more than ever, right? It's important to look into these tools. Good point. Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you the call out, but if people are interested, it's as easy as a call, and you have people to walk people like me through this process, right? I don't have to come here and say, hey, Mark, this. You guys can help us walk through this and figure it out, right?
Yeah, the advisors that we have are trained, are licensed. They're level 2 licensed advisors, mean they have to take a few classes, they have to upgrade their learning every single year, get their credit hours, and then we at Global Ag every single year not only train on our product, but review AgriStability, crop insurance, our competitor, hail insurance, all these different things. So they have a really good working knowledge. They know our program really well and everything else well as well. And so that they will walk through, get to know a little bit about the farm first, see if there's some value beyond what they're insured for presently that a Global Ag Risk Solution product can bring. And then we'll walk through the options with them and to get them to really understand what we're doing. And they are trained to actually not just talk about it, but to read people as well. So if there's any hesitation in not understanding it, we will not suggest to purchase a Global Ag Risk product until they can actually say it back to us. And that's really, really key for us that the farmers understand what they're insured for.
Perfect. Good. I'm glad we went there. I know a bunch of your team members, and you guys have some really amazing people working for you. So I don't doubt that for a second.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, good. Do the final call out. I think we covered final thoughts. We spoke about AgWrap, AgStability, how they work together. I think we covered everything. That was a great session. Do you want to do that final call out one more time, how they can find more information?
Sure. Yeah. It's calling into the office, 704 GARS. So 306, because it's our head office, our world head office is in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So it's 306-704 GARS, which is 4277. Or they can, when they have a few minutes, just go onto our website, which is agrisksolutions.ca. So agrisksolutions.ca. And to find an advisor on that landing page, you go to the top, you'll see our team. Hover over top of our team and up will pop a window, find an advisor, click on that, and then they can, it should come right to where they're living and advisors that are around them. And so choose an advisor, and their phone numbers are on there in a bio of who they are. A lot of wonderful people who are living and working in their communities to make sure that the community stays strong. So
love it.
So that's probably the best way to go and find an advisor.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark, for spending your time today, and also our previous 2 segments. If you guys haven't watched those, check those out as well. I really appreciate you joining us. As you know in the audience, with the Impact Farming Show and Expert Corner, really my goal is to bring the people, the ideas, the nuggets of information that will help farmers just be able to succeed, right? What can help them? Help reduce risk, uncertainty, profitability, all that good stuff. So I really appreciate when guests like you join us, Mark. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Tracy.
My pleasure as well. And you in the audience, thanks for tuning in again. I look forward to seeing you on the next segment. Bye, guys.